the United States. On the women's side, Nellie Kim wants to escape the shadow of Tereshcheva and Olga Korbut. Marcia Frederick of New England is world champion on the uneven bar. She'll have a tough time defending that title. East Germany is strong, for example, with athletes like Maxi Ganauk. And Nadia Comaneci came to the championship lean and hard, hoping to lead Romania to its first team championship. A special report from Fort Worth. Again, we return to the Tarrant County Convention Center in Fort Worth, the World Gymnastics Championships. I'm Jim McKay, this time with Kathy Rigby Mason, because we're going to talk about the women's competition. You know, there are certain athletes in many sports who just seem to end up as the center of attention, whether they're winning or losing. Olga Korbut was one, winning in 1972, losing in 1976. Nadia Comaneci certainly was the center of attention with her 7 magic marks of 10 in the Olympic Games in Montreal in 76. Well, once again this week, she's been the center of attention, but again, it's been a very different story. It began this week as a story of what looked like obvious victory.
Well, she looked tremendous in practice. As a matter of fact, many thought that this would be her first all-around gold medal in the World Championship. She's lost about 15 pounds. Like I said, in practice, she looked terrific, and she had the support of her team behind her, all looking very good.
It was a story that started earlier this week, on Tuesday night in the compulsories, and this was the Nadia we remembered from Montreal, the Nadia of old, slender, poised, talented. In the years since Montreal, we'd seen her put on weight, perhaps too much, and seemed to lose confidence on more than one occasion. But this was prime vintage Nadia.
You know, Jim, the impressive thing about Nadia on this event is, even though she's under a lot of pressure, tough competition, she doesn't hold back at all. She doesn't work cautiously, concentrates, and works very aggressively. The most spectacular routine of the evening.
So it went all through the compulsories. One more night like that, and Romania would have its first team title. Nadia would be on her way to the individual championship. It all looked easy until the next night, when the word came that Nadia was injured, was in the hospital. We'll continue the story in a minute. You know, Thursday here in Fort Worth, some hours before the optional competition would begin, Nadia Comaneci emerged from the hospital, unsmiling, as seemingly imperturbable as ever, but the word was not good. The doctor said she had an infected wrist. You can see it's swollen, the hand there, and heavily bandaged, but they said that she would at least give it a try, and so she did. Her first event would be the uneven parallel bars. Everyone anxious to see if she could do it, but as it turned out, this would be only a token appearance.
It would be impossible to work the uneven bars on a wrist that is so painful like that. There's too much weight being put on it constantly.
Now, the reason she did that was to technically stay in the competition so she could go on to the next event, the balance beam, and try to help her team win the overall team title. She saw a mark here she had never seen before. She of the perfect tens got a mark of 0.00. But here, on the balance beam, her idea was to do an entire performance without using that wrist.
And she almost does it with mostly back saltos, back flips, and aerials. Right there, solid as a rock. And you would think, with as much pain as she was in, that it would dull her senses, but it didn't, and she did a magnificent job.
Now, the way the team championship works is there are 6 women on each team. Only 5 marks must be counted. As it turned out, if she had not performed here and performed well, Romania would not have won the team title because one of her teammates, a good one, Amelia Everly, had a terrible performance and got a mark way down in the 8s. It wouldn't have been good enough, but they didn't have to count it because of this performance.
Just saw aerial walkover into an aerial cartwheel, solid as a rock. This is the only pressure so far that she's had to put on her wrist, and it does hurt, I'm sure. There's another. Actually, she could put most of her weight on that right hand, and she didn't have to touch that left barely, just to keep her on balance.
A new mark of a champion for Nadia Comaneci. Doing it when you hurt bad.
Watch this. This must hurt a little. Double twist. Beautiful exercise.
A beautiful exercise, and she had done it. Made the difference to her team. Romania would go on to win the team championship, to take it away from the Russians for the first time with that mark of 9.95. She did not perform again, dropped out of the other competition, but it was good enough. Nadia Comaneci. There was the hand. Look, it's terribly swollen. And everyone hoping it will continue to get better over the weekend here. Now, someone in the stands, a little girl, called out just about at this point, "We still love you, Nadia," and this was her reaction. Just that tiny little smile, but the biggest one you'll ever see from her. Now, the Americans had their best moments really in the vault, didn't they? This was Kathy Johnson.
Yes, Kathy's made big improvement on this event in the past year with their layout Sukahara. Look at the height. Solid landing.
And that got her a 9.85. Everybody was good on this. Look at Krista Canary.
This is what Krista is one of our strongest vaulters. Handspring front salto with a half twist, and she really nails it. Look at the height.
She sure nailed it. The mark she would get, as you will see, was 9.9. But from here on, the Americans had their problems. They sagged and eventually finished only 6th. The Russians had their problems all the way through, despite fine performances by their leader, Nellie Kim. But on this event, even Nellie had a problem.
She was secure throughout the competition this far, but the problem came on her double back. She didn't get quite enough rotation or height. And you'll see she touches her hands in the end to the floor. Right there.
And that and things like it did it. The Russians had lost, and this was the award. The team in white, Romania, the winner. Watch Coach Belokoroyi, like a boxer, acknowledge victory here. There he is. And all his little tykes. But what tough little tykes they are. Particularly this one. Another chapter had been written in the Nadia Comaneci story. She would not win her world championship.
This is Chris Shank from Fort Texas. There's been a new development in the illness of Nadia Comaneci. At this hour, Nadia is undergoing minor surgery to drain the infection in her left hand. After performing Thursday in team competition, Nadia was readmitted to All Saints Hospital late last night. Doctors say the infection resulted from a hair follicle on her hand. And here you see that left hand and notice how swollen it is. Doctors told us that in today's surgery, they plan to make an incision 1.5 inches long to clean the infected area. A spokesman for All Saints Hospital called the procedure not life-threatening, but serious. Nadia is being administered antibiotics intravenously. She is expected to awaken from a general anesthetic later this evening. She, of course, will miss the remainder of these World Championships. But her Romanian team doctors believe she'll be back in training soon for the 1980 Summer Olympic Games. We hope that prognosis is accurate.